welcome to the Woman Weapon podcast. I'm Rachel Eliza, and here is Josie Judd.
Hi.
We got gins today because It's been a trying day. Sorted us out with the cucumber, with the grapes, with the mint. We love to see it. And the sustainable straws.
Definitely, I feel like with lockdown you really have to make the most. I've just been really treating myself almost too much.
No, you can't treat yourself too much.
Treat myself too well.
You've got to though. If you're not treating yourself the best, no one else is gonna.
Exactly. So, what is that the thing on TikTok? Be the main character.
Yeah, in your own film. Yeah. You know.
I don't know how narcissistic that is, but no.
No, but it's kind of true though. You've got to romanticize the fuck out of everything, and then it makes you actually enjoy everything.
Definitely, for sure.
I saw this thing on TikTok about it. It was girls who aren't from London sitting on the tube and listening to Lana Del Rey or some sad girl pop, and then making eye contact with any guy and thinking that they're just falling in love.
Oh my god, I can definitely say that I've been guilty of that. And oh my god, you're awkward tension looking at someone, and then you're you know that they're just gonna go and walk away, and you're bye.
And when you're wearing a mask as well, it's just you're really just clutching straws, because
definitely
it's this is just eye contact. This is how much we're craving the communication, because I'm falling in love over just the eyes. Can't even see you.
Yeah, when I go on society is basically a performance anyway, so when I go on the tube, I feel it's just part of that performance.
That's deep. Society's a performance. Never heard of that
constructs.
And that's true. So Josie Judd, you got British Vogue on the CV, you got GQ on the CV. Let's go. You got some mad names on there.
I definitely feel very fortunate, especially with the pandemic and everything that's going on. But just I feel very lucky, even though I have had to work very hard to kind of get where I am.
Of course, yeah.
I'm from Portsmouth. My dad's a single parent, and I worked 3 jobs just to move to London.
Because when we met, I thought you were from here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time in London from the age of 12, because I used to be a dancer. So I used to train with Boy Blue and Zoo Nation. I had a scholarship at Zoo Nation.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I used to come up on the weekend, and that was one really good thing about moving to London, because I was able to kind of reconnect with lots of friends, and some of my friends that even though we've gone into different paths, some of them that are professional dancers, it's still so good to have that creative hobby and outlet.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's obviously how I met you was through AYB, and that was something I wanted to do on the side.
Yeah, to keep that thing going, to keep you always having that aspect of your life.
For sure. And I'd love to get back into I'm always find myself now even sometimes freestyling.
Yeah. You never lose it though. You never really lose those kind of things when it's something that you've been passionate about since you were young. And I feel unless you've had a traumatic experience, you never lose the real joy.
Yeah, it just comes back so cyclical, I think, as well. Because I find myself getting inspired by dance all the time, even in my job. It's especially with TikTok as well, and all the sort of social dance movements that are happening. That's really exciting. But I'd love to now that I've kind of got this new job where I'm settling into a permanent position, now I feel is a time to kind of reconnect with a lot of hobbies. I feel doing dance from a teenage age, I kind of it helped me even for my career. Just Kenrick was always about hard work and your mentality, and kind of bringing them ideas that you do as you train as a dancer, because dancers work so hard, always having to train on the side, and all the kind of different elements that you have to do when you are a dancer. I feel are all transferable skills that I've brought into my professionalism, working on set.
Definitely. I think to be a dancer, you have to be very disciplined as well, and you have to always be thinking about a multitude of different things. So I can imagine that it's very supplementary for anything else you really just have to do, especially because you're in the creative field now. I could see why that really helps.
And I love seeing how even some dancers now fashion like in like crosses with so many other different fields. Sometimes I'll see like a dancer in like a Burberry campaign, and I'll be like, oh wow, like I know them through like the dance world.
It's nice to see dancers have more recognition now as well. I feel like because like what you said about TikTok and like the rise of social media and social dances, it makes it a lot more accessible. But then it also means that like the people who are professionals are sort of elevated even more.
Definitely. And before I worked at British Vogue, I worked at Vogue Global Network, which was kind of like a startup in the sense of the publishers Condé Nast set up a team that was like a centralized team for all the global different entities for Vogue. So we created content, which then we would syndicate and share to everyone. But we didn't actually have a product like a magazine like most of the different Vogues did. So we didn't have a product, but we were a team that operated, and it was completely digital. So like even the culture was like so great because the president used to spend a lot of time in Silicon Valley. So he brought them sort of different elements that he used to report on to like that work environment. So it was very much like work wherever you want, work from home, learning, like feel free to like take time off so that you're learning new things. Like it's just
that's really good.
The importance of like keep learning, learning from each other. He really like promoted like kind of like different teams crossing and exchanging. I went to coding club, language club.
Oh wow!
But yeah, it was there the managing editor Steve, who was like so amazing, so kind. I remember her saying to me like about how like probably my experiences in dance like kind of gave me attributes that helped for like me to excel in that environment as well. And she was saying like it's the same even when people like train in football, that sort of like having a passion and really kind of like cultivating it.
So what is your job role right now?
So at the moment I've been there for a week. I started GQ magazine on the digital team as a junior digital picture editor.
So you've always been like on the digital, like video photo kind of aspect of things?
No, so when I was at British Vogue, I was working on the magazine.
Yeah.
So that was a completely different sort of environment in the sense of you're making a magazine every month and you work 3 months in advance. So you're always thinking about 3 months ahead.
Yeah.
So it's a really weird way to think about life because you're always 3 months. It's like, oh, it's going to be Christmas. Oh, are you ready? It's going to be... But it's different because with digital, it's like daily. So like it's out there. You can always change it.
Whereas with print, that's out there. That's done.
Yeah.
There's no like taking that back once it's been published, I guess.
A lot of pressure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I didn't realize that you actually like worked on the print. I thought for some reason because I saw you post on your Instagram that video with Alicia Keys, like behind the scenes at I don't know where it was, like the Grammys or something.
Yeah, so that was at the Vogue Global Network. So
okay, that makes sense.
They offered me some work shadowing after my final exhibition, and from there I just like really worked hard. I tried to help every single team. I was always like, can I help anyone? Can I help you? I was just so willing to like do anything, and people really liked that and were willing to like teach me things. And Alistair, who's so amazing, gave me the opportunity to research a photographer for their first reportage on Lagos Fashion Week.
Oh wow!
So I researched all these Nigerian photographers, and they commissioned one of the people that I researched.
Oh, wow!
So that was something that they.
That's amazing.
Like, yeah,
wow,
that was
that's
really
great.
And then from there, they offered me to choose for 2 different internships, as there was like 2 different teams. So it was either between social or video, and I decided to go with video because it was like a new medium and just kind of like how the company was changing and developing.
Yeah,
video seemed like a new pathway that I could gain skills from, kind of more. And so I did that, and I worked on the video team. So that's the Alicia Keys video that you saw.
Yeah,
I worked there for about over 2 years. But as on like a graduate internship, so I was video intern. It's so weird. I saw my boss today when I was walking down Oxford Street, and I was literally like waving crazily.
And how did you find the diversity within all those companies?
Yeah, so I've been really fortunate to be in really like diverse work environments, which is I don't know if I've just been really lucky in the places I work, and I can't really say much for the wider industry. But I do remember seeing a diversity report, and there was like lots of different data across our company, and it was measuring it against the industry. And we do have a lot of diversity in the sense of we have a lot of women in high positions across the company. Um, and then in the teams that I have worked in, so the Vogue Global Network and Condé Nast Entertainment, which I was saying, that was like really diverse because it was meant to be like a futuristic team, and so yeah, even from like the engineering team and product team, they were all really diverse. And Condé Nast Britain, where I work now, so Vogue House, where British Vogue and GQ is. They're getting more diverse. So British Vogue under Edward Enninful is increasingly more diverse in the teams. There's a lot of, especially in my level, a lot of people, Black British people like me, I guess. And that's super amazing because it's great to see them being empowered. Like there's amazing people like Twiggy Jallow, who's doing such great things at British Vogue, and just she's from Peckham but comes from Sierra Leone, and they got her when she went back to Sierra Leone to see her hometown. She got to write stories about it.
Wow.
So yeah, they're really trying to like embrace diversity in stories. And one really cool thing that I got to be a part of when I was at British Vogue was during the Black Lives Matter movement. Edward Enninful, the editor, he made his own council in the magazine, and it was with all kind of BAME staff. So there was about like 10 to 12 of us maybe, and we got to meet with the editor.
Oh wow.
And yeah, we just discuss things, how we were feeling, things.
That's really important. That's so important because at my uni, my old uni, a dance school, they didn't even like check in until everyone kind of ripped them to shreds about how inactive they'd been about the whole Black Lives Matter movement. And at my uni in particular, like I happen to be really close with like all the black people in my year, but there was only like 5 people out of 100 or something. But that still doesn't justify them not like taking a stand and showing their place with it. But it was only after that people started emailing them just saying, do not care for those students, that they then were like, oh gosh, like we need to do meetings and we need to check in. And even like the teachers, there's like 2 black male teachers and then 1 woman. And it's just like, that's not good enough. It's really disappointing to see that they needed a kick up the ass to get there. So it's really good that like when you are working with a really big company, that they kind of already are just doing what's right without needing the push, without needing people to be like, oh, you really should be doing this.
Yeah, like there's been like a few articles like that. I think there was a piece in the New York Times about like my company and saying like, is it too late? Because of the history of kind of it not being as diverse, and it does in a lot of different places and brands does have like a lot to do, but they are changing. Whether enough it's enough, and whether it will keep on making sure, because especially like in fashion, I feel like in a lot of advertising now, like things are really diverse in terms of models, but it's more of a kind of look at teams now and like how if you're showing diversity in your marketing, what do your teams look like?
Because then it could be a question of, well, if the team itself isn't diverse, are you only like creating diverse content because like you're trying to tick boxes and fill a quota kind of thing? And then it's like also, if you are not someone who like fits into that like category or whatever, how much do you actually know about what you're producing then? So
but I like care about like so much like kind of diversity in a sense of like it's not even just about race, it's like even just generally in like the UK, a lot of over 50s get discriminated against, and then it becomes, you can have 40 years in experience,
Yeah.
and then get to 60 and it'd be really hard to be employed. During the pandemic, the amount of kind of over 50s was a record high, like people being made redundant.
That's so bad.
Wow. Age discrimination is such a big thing. So like even with diversity, like it encompasses so many different things. And
Yeah.
I was watching the report, and like even even with like Black Lives Matter, like one thing that I always say, like especially something that I like read in a book and it really resonated with me, and it was, you can't talk about race without talking about like socioeconomics, because in the UK, like the way that people have been divided, even like with racism, is like often, when Dominic Cummings was in the Conservative Party, and how he was kind of breaking down and creating these simple like narratives, Turkey and the EU, and like making people kind of go against that, but targeting people that also were, and I guess like I don't know, maybe you being from the north, you can like experience like, there's a lot of like a divide between the north and the south.
Yeah.
And people will often be like, well, we're poor, so why should we care about Black Lives Matter? We're all here in the same boat, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And that's another diversity issue that I see it like in my companies, is like, where's the representation of Northern Irish people? Different regions in the UK as well.
Yeah.
And and my best friend's from Liverpool, so like we always like talk about this.
Diversity definitely like ranges across a whole multitude of different things and factors, and you have a learning difficulty as well.
Yeah,
so
that's what I was going to say actually. Like in the report there was like a figure of like, have your parents gone, a percentage of people, and I think it was something like 3% of people in the company, and they compared it to the wider industry, and it was just like shocking of, people in the company whose parents haven't had further education, so haven't gone to university, and then like imagine someone like me who is like Black, like my dad didn't go to university and have a learning difficulty. Like I'm a really like small percentage.
Yeah.
But joining GQ, like it was one thing that's been really important about me starting this job remotely, like from home, is like making sure like I'm always communicating, and they've been so good at like welcoming me, and like having Zoom meetings with all the different team, and my boss has been so kind, and like keeping that communication up is so important. To always communicate when you especially are in like kind of still learning and then still in this journey. Sure. So I like had a conversation with my boss, and I let her know like, I have dyspraxia, which is a learning difficulty but because I know that I have this, so like dyspraxia kind of affects like, it's about like your left and the right side of your brain. So they say like I overcompensate the right side of my brain, which you tend to be more creative with. But then as I've kind of got older, I feel like I've kind of like overcompensated, so I've had to kind of like make my own ways of kind of dealing with things, and kind of like, so that I can be organised, so like making sure I'm extra organised, because I know that is something that I'm struggle with. So I always feel like you don't have to let kind of being diagnosed dyslexia sort of like define you, because you can just learn more about yourself and understand, the things that you struggle with, and then what are the things you need to focus on. And once you focus on them and you work hard, you can excel in areas that you perhaps weren't naturally good at, if that makes sense.
And that's really important, to not let labels define you, like period. Myself, I've had like some shit with mental health, and I like recognised, so I got prescribed antidepressants like a couple of years ago, and I never like ended up taking them or anything, just because of my own personal reasons and stuff. I was like, I prefer to go through counselling and then see if that's like a route I want to take. But basically I was already in a real, like the worst state I've probably ever been in my life, and because they'd prescribed me these, I was like, oh, well, that's the label that I have now. And I kind of like allowed that to let me go deeper into like how shit I was already feeling. Like I'm in a privileged position because like I didn't need the medication. Like there's obviously people who would experience it so much more severely, but I was kind of just like, I'm not gonna let that define me. But I like already kind of had started to let it define me. I'd already, and then I'd got like into the whole pity party, and I was like, oh well, this is just what I am. This is just what it is. So yeah, I completely get that, not letting it define you, just finding ways around it, and then you find more about yourself.
Yeah.
And what does it mean for you to have dyspraxia? Like, what, for people maybe don't know a lot about it, you said like overcompensating, but like in a day-to-day sort of thing, what does it mean?
I just feel like it can be a lot about how you learn to do things. But for me, I find a lot of people can go from A to B, whereas I might creatively go from A to B in a way that goes C, D, bounces back, and then to B.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then it's just kind of like how your thoughts are organized. You can easily be a bit more confused. You can easily have a sort of like different perception on things. And I'm really great at kind of being, I'm like a really like open book, honest person. So I'm always kind of like venting like how I feel, and like that's always a good way for like me to like understand things, because then it's like in that conversation I feel like you get that different perspective, and then you're like, that makes sense. But yeah, so it's just kind of like things of coordination. There's been times where I've been like really unorganized, and it's been really difficult for me to kind of have routines, but I've just kind of had to really train at it and just work hard and know that it is possible. Like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's doable for sure. And it doesn't mean that like you have had these jobs and have this job with these really big brands, and so it doesn't mean that people who maybe are in a similar situation to you can't go and do things they want to do. They just need to kind of like find and develop their own ways around it, I guess. Because like you can get to the same destination, it's just a different kind of route.
For sure, they always say that like there's never like one route to get somewhere. But when I like told my boss about kind of my dyspraxia, she was just like so amazing. It was like, you know, if you ever need anything, like let me know any way that we can help.
That's really lovely as well, because I was going to touch on that when we're talking about Black Lives Matter, and when the people at the top actually genuinely care, you can tell. And that is just like the only way that it should be, you know, that then those are the environments that you want to be in. And like you already said, you're really happy, like you're only a week in, but you said you're really happy with the team and how things are going. And when they make you feel welcomed like that, when they actually care about you, like you're going to want to do your best and you're going to feel comfortable. You're going to want to thrive in that environment, and you're more likely to thrive in that environment.
Yeah.
So
100%.
That's really good.
Because my boss, Anna, who is incredible, I think there was one day I forgot to drink enough water. So I was like, I'm going to write you up this email tomorrow because I have a bit of a headache. And she was like, yeah, like make sure you rest up. It's totally fine. That just flashed. Is it okay?
What? No space on the memory card? Well, that's okay. We can just carry on as we were.
But no, basically, I just let my boss know kind of the situation about, because she kind of checked in on me and was like, you know, how are you feeling? And I was like, oh, I couldn't get as much of an early night. I didn't want to be a problem child and like let her know, but I was like, you know, I got some bad news last night, but I'm good. Because I knew I'd be quite puffy-eyed that day. So I kind of let her know about like a year and a half ago, I was in this abusive relationship that I managed to get out of. And my old colleagues at CNI were like really amazing with that period. My boss actually met me because I would like go into work with like cuts on my face and stuff. And my boss would actually meet me and be like, "You need like it's weird. Not it's weird that he picked you up from work, but she would be like, they intervened and the manager. Yeah, that's too deep, but they were really supportive and they helped me kind of get through that period, which was amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
And you know, it's been so great to be able to progress in the company. And Anna was like, if you ever need any time off, like don't ever worry, like just let me know and we'll sort that out, because my role is quite demanding now because I'm the only person doing the pictures. So it's just me on the website taking everyone's picture requests. But yeah, it's so great that I can have my boss's support, and she's like, if you ever want to talk to me, like I'm always here. And she'll like check in on us at like the end of the day. I don't know if I said that, but yeah, and she's kind of given me like free creative license to kind of like do my own thing with the website in terms of like the graphic design. She's kind of like, just make sure you run it by me, and I've been running by her, and she like loves everything. So that's been really like great to be able to fully be creative, and I'm trying to kind of like collaborate with different artists and kind of give people the space, and like I'm hoping to kind of create my own network so I can say to people, you know, if you want to experiment on like a space, like maybe we can collaborate and try and like pitch it to the editors and see if they think
Oh, that's amazing. You get to have like your full creativity and your independence like that.
Yeah, definitely. But GQ are really good at like empowering their team and getting people, like if you're interested in different things, they really kind of give you the license. So they said to me in my interview, if you're interested in photography, like we can get you shooting some things. They like all the people kind of have their job, but they also write about the things they're passionate about. So it's so amazing that people can do that. And that's something I really want to do because I love music. So I hope that I can kind of, I've been able to write a couple of pieces like when I was at Vogue and at the video team. So I know you saw the hair piece for British Vogue, and that was Twiggy for World Afro Day. She got loads of different staffers at British Vogue to kind of write about their experiences with their hair and how their different hair routines. So I kind of spoke about like
when I saw that, I thought that was amazing because it just highlighted like black girl magic, didn't it? So, and it was like embracing your hair in a society that like up until very recently has taught black women that they need to do the opposite of embracing their hair and that kind of stuff.
100%. Yeah, it's so amazing to see spaces like that being used to kind of because when I grew up, when there wasn't on the internet, obviously like music videos, I could look up to so much like Black culture, Destiny's Child, Brandy with braids, but there wasn't kind of this sort of like sharing information.
Like it wasn't accessible then.
So now it's like kind of so great to be connected, and I feel like social media has really helped kind of you know, show so many different elements of beauty and kind of develop people's perceptions, and and it's allowed for like brands like Vogue and GQ to develop and diversify because they kind of need to kind of
get on with that. Cheers. Thank you for coming on the Woman Weapon podcast.
Oh no, thank you. It's been so great to kind of have the space to talk about things, and because you know, you don't really like properly talk about things like you were saying.
I think I wanted to do this so that we can have more like open conversations with women and understand all different kinds of women and what they go through, and that can help educate others, and so they can do the things they want to do, you know?
Yeah, so important.
This has been the Woman Weapon podcast. This is Josie Judd. I'm Rachel Eliza, and we'll see you next time.